Yes, hello everybody, we are back again. Another live stream, and I wanted to show you today about Predator-3 and the advanced modulation. So if we go here to the modulation, the basic modulation, let's give me an example what the basic modulation means. I can take here, for instance, the modulation wheel, and as destination, I can set this high pass filter frequency. And then when I move this modulation wheel, you can see it in the upper corner. You can see my keyboard, and then it opens the high pass filter. And as you can see, we have animated dials, and these you see here, the high pass filter also starts to move. So essentially, this is a very basic modulation. Modulation matrix simply means you pick one point and you modulate the other point. Of course, many modulations are preset already. So for instance, in the Predator-3 and most of our synthesizers, you will find the modulation wheel already inside the filter, because that's always cool to have it there directly. So you don't need to arrange that in the modulation matrix. So that makes the synthesizer more user-friendly. So if I go down with the cutoff frequency and I have the modulation wheel open, it opens the filter. And in this case also the high pass filter. So let me mute that one. So you see here, it opens the filter. This adds some expression depending on the sound you're seeking. In Predator-3, and that's also very important to know, everything which has this silver whitish dial is an amount control. So you see, modulation wheel controls how much the modulation wheel changes the cutoff frequency. So I can go also negative. Negative amount means that the filter closes even more. And the black dials means that these are really the essential parts of the center of this module. So filter 1, the real parts of this filter are the cutoff frequency, the resonance, and the filter distortion. And you see the other ones here are amount controls. And down here we have the filter envelope, which has red dials, which means these are modulators. So these are things which change other parameters. So in this case, this filter 1 envelope is connected to the filter 1. And here's the amount control. And in filter 2, you see the same setup, depending on the algorithm, the routing algorithm you use. But you see filter 2 has its own filter envelope. So that's also why you see this colorization. So for instance, in the oscillator, you see also here, oscillator 1, it has pulse width modulation. I will click down. You can see the pulse width, which is essentially symmetry modulation. So it changes the symmetry. Therefore, we call it SM mod or S mod, which means symmetry modulation. So it changes the midpoint of the waveform, which you can see in this oscilloscope. So this is the square waveform, and now you see it's changed by an LFO. And this is a built-in LFO, and you see the speed is red and the amount is again a silver knob. And the symmetry is black because that's the symmetry, basic initial symmetry of the waveform. So that's the reason why you see these colors, different colors in Predator-3. And what is the advanced mode? So here we have the basic mode in the modulation matrix, and the advanced mode means that you can give certain thresholds. So now the cutoff frequency, so let me take this one back here, and I go to the cutoff frequency, the amount. You see, it works. So what I can do is have a lower threshold. So if I say the threshold is 50%, then the dial, the modulation wheel, needs to first hit the 50% value. So let me see. I can use the shift, keyboard shift, for smaller values. Okay, here we go, 50. So now it doesn't change the cutoff frequency from the high pass filter, but when I'm over the 50%, now it starts moving. You hear that? So watch here, this is the high pass filter I'm changing. So this is the high pass filter. The frequency modulation wheel is controlling the high pass filter. The amount is 100%, but it starts at 50% threshold. So the modulation wheel, this wheel here, what you see, needs to be beyond the half position before this modulation gets active. So what you could do, for instance, is making the filter very was this way, this or that. And if you go over 50%, it even changes the high pass filter. So if you stay with this dark sequence up to the half of the modulation wheel, it changes the cutoff frequency, and of course also beyond. And then if you go over this threshold, then you see this one jumps also and starts to. So you can have far more complicated modulation tricks with that. So if you have that in the music, so I open a little bit the modulation wheel. And if I open more, it gets the high pass filter. And it disappears. So that's the advanced mode, which makes that each modulation matrix, you can give it a lower threshold and an upper threshold. And the upper threshold is, of course, that it only changes, for instance, the high pass filter from going 0 to 50%. Then, okay, let's see. And of course, then the sound, because of the high pass filter, it's gone. So that's also an option. But this, of course, if you combine this together with even other effects inside of it. So let me give another example. I could also say, so I take each time the modulation wheel, because that's easy for you to show and to see it, is to take again the modulation wheel and do something with the FX. So I could say, control the FX, mix of FX2. FX2, let's see what is happening there. There's a mono delay. So I can have that one having more mix, and also make it happen after 50%. Okay, and for instance, the modulation wheel, you can address so many as you want, of course, in this matrix. Let's say that you also say, okay, let's do from the FX to also the changes of the feedback, so more feedback. So also with the threshold about 50%. And then, of course, you need to add an amount. So let's see what happens. So you can go totally wild with these kind of things. Okay, let me check in the chat room. Everybody is still there. And hello, everybody. I'm looking here at the text. I hope you can follow me a little bit. I talk about the advanced mode inside Predator-3, the advanced mode inside the modulation matrix, where each target can have its lower threshold, upper threshold, which makes that you can make really at certain given moment that things do change. Let me see if there's a question about it. Yeah, that's also an option to, of course, address one of the dials controller. It's also cool to be used, definitely. What makes a not modulate besides XY and mod section? XY and mod section. Well, essentially, that's a good question. Essentially, you also, so in the modulation matrix, you have all kind of sources, like I use MIDI, but also you can use other sources. But we also have a built-in at least one source in each of the other modulators, the envelope, the LFO, after the follower, audio follower. So pitch LFO is just a default on the pitch. Then we have the filter LFO, which is here the amount control. So that's definitely set. But then we have the free LFO one, which you can dress already here to one destination. But if you want to have more destinations, you go to the modulation matrix, and there you pick the free LFO again. So these are free LFOs, which you can use to address at anything, free envelopes. We have even multi-envelopes, which are very sophisticated. They came over from Bluetooth. You even can change the curve here. So yeah, a lot of options here. So the multi-envelope, you could say, okay, use that one, for instance, on oscillator 2 on the morphing. Let's see what I have here. Well, that's not it. When we put on the morphing, here you see changes. It's not very audible yet, but maybe I can do that on a later moment, because I'm talking now about the advanced mode. But these are also sources you can use to modulate anything. So, but you need to address it. So these multi-envelope, you see, I need to address. It had already one destination. But what I also can do in the mod matrix is also using it here, because there the source, modulation source, is also the multi-envelope 1 and 2, and also the other ones you can use. You can also say, okay, use the filter LFO for panning, or one of the free LFOs. So it's a very modular synthesizer from that perspective. You can patch a lot of things together. So, so the advanced modulation is really for doing some very different cool things. So I think a psytrance type of sounds, which change. I think the groove is not good enough for that kind of things, but so yeah, this is a mono delay, but I also could pick a stereo delay. Maybe that's cooler. Stereo delay, tape delay. Now it changes the parameters, of course. FX2 mix remains the same, but I changed now the other one should be then, of course, the FX2 left delay. And then you need to do it twice, because you have left delay and right delay. Or you simply take the feedback. That's easier. Feedback again. It's very far, too much maybe. So the amount I can pull it a little back, but it starts doing it after I'm over the 50%. So you can go totally wild with this. For instance, I can say the pitch LFO. That's a good one. Modulation wheel, so let's go crazy. Modulation wheel again. I pick now filter 1 LFO amount. Okay, and let's see how that sounds. Okay, so now I need to go to the filter LFO. When I open it here, it opens automatically down here. It's 1 bar, but let's have that one something different. Let's say a random thing. Oh, here it is. course, needs to be. Now it's random sounds. Hear that? Now it's random on the filter LFO. But I don't want to have it instantly. I want to have it on a different point. So I go back to the modulation matrix. And I put that again to the velocity from, let's say, about 50%. Let's see what happens. Okay, it's not that fantastic. Let me go back again to this LFO. Maybe we should still maybe use another waveform. You need to fiddle around stuff, of course. A bit too much. Now you hear the LFO. Whoa, 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 whoa. So now then so it's no modulation wheel. So now it changes the high pass filter, puts on the high pass filter, puts on modulation, and changes the FX. It's not very good. I think it's not a cool sound this way, but it's what you can do. So yeah, definitely it's a modular synthesizer. Yeah, the patches you can make here is totally crazy in terms of these features. So that would be an example what you could do. But of course, other things are also possible. So maybe I simply could go to another synth sound. Let me think what we could do with the advanced mode. Yes. We could add one extra oscillator. Let me see if I can find a nice waveform. Okay. Yeah, what we can do is use velocity, MIDI velocity. Here it is on the amp section, so on the attack. Let me see if this is gonna work out. So you also can change the envelope times. So envelope attack time. Yeah, that's... I need to play hard. I don't see the animated dial here, but it's oscillator 3, and let's make it the case that we do some splitting here. So let me see. Okay. Okay, so this is... It goes to filter 2, and filter 1 does this brassy sound. So what I could do now is the velocity changes the attack. So the but this, okay, picture that you want to have this sound as a top sound above it, then you could say MIDI velocity again and control the volume of oscillator 3. So, but then in the advanced mode, you would say control the velocity if I have a particular threshold again. So let me see if I'm doing it right here. So when I play soft, okay, let me see, I'm doing something wrong. Velocity, here it is, volume. Upper threshold, lower threshold. Why it jumps back? Oh yeah, that's the drag and drop bug we have. We have drag and drop, but if you use then the volume, you see it jumped back because it did drag and drop here. Okay, I'm now trying out with the keyboard. 1 second. Not really working as I expect, but that could be with the type of modulation I'm using. So soft should play. So what I wanted to do is that if I play soft, that you don't hear this metal sound, but only if you play hard. So for some reason I'm doing something wrong, or I did discover a bug. Well, it could be because I have the threshold velocity over the volume. So it doesn't work as it should be, because it doesn't kick in. Yeah, something I have to ask John. Why isn't this working? Modulation for volume, yeah. Oscillator 3 volume. So yeah, so the advanced mode, we had this other example. It's very cool if you want to have particular additions. Let me see if there's another example with a sequencer. Oh, that one is very mean. Oh, that's a mean sound. There's so much going on in this one already. No, that doesn't make sense. Okay, let me see if you can follow me a little bit about the advanced mode. So I'm not sure if I made an examples. Here's an example bank. Basic advance. Oh, here's it. So in the example bank, there is an example for this advanced modulation matrix. So sorry, if you go to manager, 099 examples, the second preset, basic advanced. And that's simply a sequence sound. And you see the modulation wheel is controlling the morphing. That is the part 1. So here I can bypass it. Let me show you. So this one changes the oscillator 1 morphing. Starts with a saw waveform. stays a saw waveform until I hit the 50%. Then suddenly it changes to the waveform. So this is a preset you can check yourself. The second thing which is done is the modulation wheel controlling the oscillator 1 sub volume. And that one, let's see. Oh, that's very strange. 3%. Oh, what is that here? Pop-up menu. Stupid Windows. So the sub-oscillator kicks in. You see it here in oscillator 1, sub-oscillator. So it, after 3% already kicks in. Now then the other one, the third one, is modulation wheel FX1 mix, which is the, I guess, the stereo delay. So it controls the mix amount. So more delay. And then the fourth one is the feedback. So it increases also the feedback. So you see a totally different sound. This is a basic analog type saw wave sound, and then suddenly it changes to something completely different if you use the modulation wheel. So that's the advanced mode that goes beyond, because you can give things threshold, an area where it works. So, and I love to use the modulation wheel for that kind of things, but I also can use a envelope, whatever, for doing these kind of things. Yeah, there are more. Basic mod. This is basic mod. Sweet saw. Yeah, that's of course one. Somebody mentions it's such good sonic synth. Yeah, it has the sound engine. There's no way, I think, how we can top this in terms of course, thanks to the CPU, which is possible now. But we added the BIT code, and it's such a nice addition to the quality of the sound. So you see, the saw wave has a lot of harmonics. So yeah, so these are a few examples. I think also other things, go round pad. I'm not sure what that means, but I think that is an example that you can use the filters in a split mode, which means that oscillator 3, which is a very digital type of sound, goes to filter 2. And also the panning is modulated, so it goes really stereo. It's like a PPG type of wavetable sound. And oscillator 1 and 2. More very mellow. So yeah, you see, it's totally different if you simply... So if you think, oh, this was a nice pad, yeah, go to the go round pad and shut down oscillator 3, and you have this. Nice, isn't it? So this is the from the example bank, matrix, go round pad matrix. I created this preset, but I don't recall anymore what I did. Matrix. Oh, this uses a wave set. User waves. These are 8 user waves. Last pad. And this is a kind of reverse. It sounds like a reverse, but it's an LFO. Here you see the filter LFO. If you have it timed. Yeah, it's timed. By the way, you also can use the user waves for filter. So if I go back here, see user wave is the traditional ones, but the user waves you also can use. Yeah, I know this synth is ridiculous in terms of feature. So here's the user wave, and I can change it. And now it's a different, or this. And now it's this waveform. It's the user wave. So the user waves also can be used as a waveform. Okay. Triple notes. Oh, that has to do with an Predator-3 with the offset timing. But now we have, of course, ratcheting. So this is the offset, which means that you can change the timing position of the step node. So it's minus 60, 83. When I double click it, it's what you would have normally. And now if you change the timing of it, so click around, then you have the triple notes, it's called. So this is all sounds in the example bank. Let me see. Wave sequence. You see here the wave set oscillator 1 from 1 to 8, and I think it's the free row which is used to control them. I see the free row has different values. I go to the modulation matrix, and yes, the free row controls the oscillator morphing. So if I bypass it, oh, the velocity also. Now it's static. So you can use free row or the velocity, XY on pitch. And then the XY pad movers, well, these are of course the XY, which are tempo based to control the filter. If I play this in the tempo here. Okay, there's something playing here, 1 second. So the XY can be, yeah, it can make some kind of sidechain sounds. You see it sync to 1 bar that you can change, or you can also increase the speed here, but then here it is, of course, more precise. these are examples for the should be precise, so these sounds need to be added, but these are examples what you can do with the XI, which are tempo based. This one is a little bit better. Yeah, this one a bit lighter. Okay, let's start. Let's see how this one fits in. And of course, you have to take care in the play mode. Play mode means mono. It's each time when I hit another note, it's triggering. Of course, you need to play precise so that everything times nice. And then you have poly mode, and each time everything is here tempo based. Poly means that each note has their own movement. So one dot, that's a kind of more polyrhythm. Of course, you need to play. Well, what you can do is, of course, always quantize. Let's see if I would record this. So I recorded this now, and too many notes. So it should be a bit more, a bit less notes played. But these are the examples in the bank manager. So to use the XY polyphonically, tempo based, and yeah, you can see the drawments you can change, but it's always how you say that, non-descriptive, because here you see the number of points is down here is 8, because that's sometimes with these type of sounds, it's nicer to have a few pounds instead of having 128, you know. That's too complex, and you say, okay, I take 8. You add it, and to have the edit, you simply click here, then it's visible, and then you can edit the points. This one, oh, this one is nice. So play this one. Let's see how that one fits in. Oh, another timing. Yeah, that's a nice one. This is pad mover 4 from the example. So this is the example folder with all kind of little things. Spectrum Planet, I'm not sure. I think that's with using the spectrum waveform. Yeah, that's using the spectrum waveforms, morphing between them. So in the oscillators, you have these little screens. You have the advanced, which has some additional controls like the symmetry modulation, symmetry and the speed. And here you can see if something goes to the filter or not. And the advanced, essentially, if that is off, it displays this waveform. Just one oscillator you hear currently. So let's see in the chat room, because I'm playing around, and that was, oh yeah, yesterday, or no, not yesterday, but the day before yesterday, I created one video how you can import your own sound from Predator-2 into Predator-3. Essentially, it's copy over from the bank folder to the bank folder of Predator-3, because Predator-3 does see that it is Predator-2, but then it converts on the flow. With Predator-1, you need to import. Then you need to go here and convert Predator-1 bank and Predator-1 preset. So that's a little bit more work. But in case you have questions on that subject, drop me an email. On if you have a lot of Predator-1 presets, we always can look if we can help out. But that's the way you do it for Predator-1. You really need to go up here in the preset menu, convert preset to bank, then it really converts the whole bank or one single preset. And then if you convert the bank will appear in the bank manager under the same name. So there you will find it. Okay, I'm checking here the chat room and if I didn't miss anything. Yes, if there's a question, let me know. Yeah, a raw update. Yes, sure. Everything we are updating over time. I think the raw update also would be benefit from the BIT stuff we did. So in the sound engine, and yeah, definitely you can hear it already in Predator-3 that especially for this typical analog sound, you really get this back in Predator-3, and we also will do this also inside Blue 3. By the way, I did not check with you about Blue 3. That's the last thing I like you to listen to. And one already noticed hearing Blue 3 that he heard the sound engine from BIT inside of it. If I simply play this simple saw waveform, I think what's one of these solo leads. Let me see where this is. Oh, this hand solo. So he really heard already that it has the very analog coding from BIT. Of course, Bluetooth is already great, but this even tops it. It's so yeah, I'm working on still the graphics working on, but also on the samples. I'm very far now with the pizzicato samples, which I mentioned last time. They are created from the EMU library, and the only thing I'm not sure about, because my focus would be making synth sound. So it's not, I picked them not of being 100% realistic, but having a nice pluck sound. This, by the way, the room is in the side is sample. So only thing I'm figuring out is if I should go down with this one. Hear that one? Changes a little bit in timbre. And that's, of course, what you get with an acoustic instrument. I could this way, or I could do it this way, that I make this one go further down. This sounds a bit more, only if you play too low, because that's too low. Still, it could be cool. But the other one, you get then this. Also funny. So maybe I should use both. So it's a little bit different than in the lower range. Then you get, I don't have the full range on the keyboard. I get this range. And this is with the built-in FX. And of course, if you make it, you can make it go wild with the FX built in. So, and it goes really wild. But of course, it's nice if you're gonna combine this with the other sound. So it's a nice plug sound. The other one is then for the very high range. It's a bit loud. You also hear some noise. But this is not a range we would play a lot. I think this range, especially here, it's nice. Or down here. So I'm working on this one, and of course the other ones you heard are quite some of them already. So still some work to do for the built-in samples. Of course, you can load in your own samples in Blue 3 and do your fun with that. You cannot compare that with a real sampler, because then the program would too be big in terms of parameters, because it has already many parameters. It did get the string model again. So if you would then save a preset, the parameter amount would be too huge. If you would say, okay, I can load in 64 samples, that could cause a problem in terms of size of the preset. Okay. So now let's back to Predator-2. Where is looking for here we are. So this bank, my sound, is of course what I did in the video. So it's not, here is my own bank. This is my own bank. Sometimes use them also in the, we say that, in the final versions, MS-20 plus SQ10. I think that one is in the Sin Banger. It's a really old style sequence with using the ratcheting in sequence B. I think here also the modulation wheel is used. Yeah. So piano. Oh, terrible sounds. So yeah. The Moogie style lead sound. If you don't have a mini Moog or Moog in the music, everybody will think this is a mini Moog. It's so close. Especially if you use this in music where other things are playing. So let me play a few notes. I'm not sure if it's a bass inside this one. No. Oh, then everything stops and you hear filter opens, which is the filter envelope. Yeah. You can make it a bit minimal. And I also, modulation wheel for the modulation matrix, LFO, but you also can use the expression. The MIDI expression to control, which is the slider here on this. You see the keyboard in the upper corner? Yeah, maybe I should move it a little bit more to the right. Give me 1 second. So I'll make it a little bit bigger. This little thing here, this is expression, and that you also could use to control the filter. So filter frequency. So modulation matrix is very important, especially for getting the sound movements. So or live expression. So I need to open the amount, of course. Wait, that's a little bit too much. see that? That's very cool. By the way, what is typical with the typical Moog sound is that the two oscillators, this is one oscillator, they are very close tuned to each other, but there is an analog drifting inside of it, which makes that the tuning does this very slow, and then the harmonics gonna mix phase in, phase out, and that gives this typical. If you use one oscillator, it's gone. So it's really a two oscillator sound. Was a wrong note. So yeah. So let me see in the chat room if there's any questions popping up. So today about modulation inside Predator-3. Yes, that's definitely nostalgia. I think in the Synth Bank there is also a Moog style lead sound. I'm looking here. That one is a bit louder. That's more like, this is a bit like Steve Winwood. Yeah. Okay, I guess I get another copy strike maybe, so I will not play it too much. But there should be a nice Moog also here. Let me see. No, that's not one. No. Roberto lead. Yeah, this is close, but maybe a little bit. Opening a bit the cutoff frequency. Yeah, so that's also a Roberto lead, open the filter, and then you also get this mini Moog type of synth sound. Okay. Checking the chat room. There was one person who mentioned about tension doing type of sequences, but I think we had a few. Just I did one. Maybe that one is too bright. I don't like the ratcheting in this one. That's better. Different delay. Yeah, there are some. This one is a Berlin Here We Go sequence, would be a basic one, but I had another one which I think I stored one, which was this one, but this one has a better ratcheting. So this is typically Berlin style sequencing. Okay, so yeah, guys, I hope you liked it for today. Next week we have another live stream. If you missed it, you always can watch it back. Give it a thumbs up if you like it. And sometimes people are getting a late notification of the live stream that I'm live. If you press this little bell icon on my YouTube channel, you get instantly a message if there's a new video or if there is a new live stream. So that makes that you will not miss it. Yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed it. Hope to see you back again next week. And yeah, enjoy creating music. And thanks for watching. Bye.